Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Bryan, you're watching Game Brigade, and today we're going to be diving deep into Tidal Blades. So Tidal Blades Rise of the Unfolders is just launched on Kickstarter. So we're going to cover the game, kind of talk about the campaign, see if this might be something you might be interested in, and then talk about the values of the pledge levels and whether this is a smart back or if something maybe we should wait for retail. So without further ado, let's go and dive in. I promise from this point on, I'll not do any stupid puns, but it's too easy to not do them for Tidal Blades. So Tidal Blades, brought to us by Druid City Games, and this is the sequel to Tidal Blades, which launched in 2020, which was a very popular game. I've already said multiple times on the channel that I have not played either version, the original Tidal Blades from 2020, nor have I played this. So all of my research is basically from watching playthroughs, how to plays, reviews, previews, whatever. But I've dived in quite a bit so to kind of get a good idea of how the mechanics of this game work, and then we're going to cover the rest of the campaign. This campaign will also feature the Cypher RPG system, which is this book right here. If you are interested in the role-playing game, full disclosure that I am not an RPG tabletop player yet. I've played once now for Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm kind of tipping my toes into the water. I'm not quite there yet. I'll give a quick rundown from what I understand, but the point of this video is going to be focusing on the board game adaptation, or at least the game. So we are on day one, 16 days to go. So we got a mid-level campaign here, 3,220 backers, and we're at $400,000 of their $50,000 goal. Druid City Games has 8 games currently on their backlist. Bloodstone had been canceled. Wonderland's War is currently still waiting fulfillment. And then the original Tidal Blades, Hero of the Reef, has fulfilled successfully. So we do know kind of their back history in terms of where they're at. And Bloodstone will be coming back to Kickstarter at some point. They are currently retooling that game to give a little bit more value for backers. So what is Tidal Blades? Is this a game we're going to want to dive into? They call it a dungeon crawler. I have a hard time taglining that, just based off the way the game flows. But essentially, characters or players will be taking on the role of 5 different Tidal Blades. In the original game, you were trying to become Tidal Blades. Now you are Tidal Blades, and Tidal Blades are it's like an order, or maybe a force, a protective force to protect the area from creatures and enemies from the fold. So you are now a new recruit in the Tidal Blade section. You have these 5 characters, and you are going to be going on this map trying to complete the specific scenario that you're going to be dealing with. I really do like, and this is me personally, I love the way these books are being utilized now to combine different art and allow for some changes in the campaign and the scenario. You can turn the page. They can have an additional, based on your movements in the campaign or the specific scenario, you can flip the page and it could change the art because you've done something differently. I think there's a lot of potential here to make really good art and really build the immersion that wasn't able to be done as successfully with tile grid-based, the tile, which is standard dungeon crawler stuff, tile setups. So glad to see this is being utilized more. Obviously, Jaws of the Lion, Gloomhaven really popularized this, but a lot more people are starting to look at it and see how they can implement it into their systems. The core gameplay loop. Let's talk about that. How does this game work? What are we going to be doing throughout the game? So here we have a great example of the player board, as well as this 3x3 grid that you'll be utilizing to cast your spells and your actions. Effectively, what will happen is you're going to have a hand of cards, and you are going to be first bidding for initiative. Initiative is important because it's going to determine the player order of who goes first. The enemies will bid for their initiative, and the players will bid for the initiative. And this will change turn by turn, so you're going to have to be constantly adjusting. Some characters, like this character here, really wants to go first, so they're going to be trying to prioritize cards that go first. But they also have cards, as you probably cannot see, it's got a minus in the symbol, minus, it looks like a -3. Some of their initiative cards still have a negative symbol. So after each player has selected a card, they're going to lock it into the top of this player board, and then everyone will reveal their cards based on initiative order. You are then going to play it in one of these squares to initiate the spell. So the way you do it, though, is when you play it in a corner, it's going to cast either in the row or column. So if you have other cards in that row, they're also going to cast. So cards you've played previously in the game, you can double up on their effects. At any point, if you cast where you have three of these cards being cast in one row, the entire row or column will be discarded and go to your graveyard. And then you'll only get those cards back once your draw pile has been fully exhausted and you have to reshuffle your graveyard to get your cards back. So this is the core gameplay loop. You're going to be playing cards from your hand, bidding for initiative, playing abilities down, trying to combo and maximize your actions. And some of these cards have dual actions, such as move or attack, move and attack, move, gain shields. And you're also you could combo potentially with the things that are base on the board, but they're not as powerful as other, the cards obviously are. This will continue as players go ahead and defeat monsters or complete whatever the scenario dictates, because some scenarios have special rules. And in the meantime, a little mini game or something that they're trying to keep aware of is each hero will have a side objective or a side goal that they're trying to complete for that round, so they can level up their character and keep expanding the strength of their characters. I have been told that the characters kind of feel samey in the beginning, and it takes a few levels for them to kind of start feeling more unique and more self-identified in terms of who they are as a character. But to get there, you have to be doing these side goals, at least that's from what I'm gathering. Then they got some information about the RPG. We're going to skip down from that and go into the overview, which we've kind of already talked about. I mean, here's everything we've talked about. You embarking your mission, playing your cards. Here's a great, I wish they would have shown that a little bit clearer, but they're trying to show that that whole row will be clearing. And then going from there. So what's in the box? What are we going to be getting for the standard pledge level? So the standard pledge, I believe it's $89, will be coming in with an all standee box. So if you're looking for a full colorized version of the game in standees, here you go. You're going to come with that. It's going to have your dual layer player boards, which is great. Gives a great aesthetic for the game, and I'm glad that they're giving that to the standee version and they're not just holding it off for, say, a deluxeified version. You're going to get your goal cards. You get 7 cards per hero, and this is so you can track your upgrade process or your current goal for the scenario. So there's 7 cards per hero. You'll shuffle, pick one. That way you know what your goal is for that round. And of course, we have the action cards that players will be using that are per the character you're going to be playing. So that's the basic rundown of the game. You've got the whole campaign book. I really dig the aesthetic of the game. It almost reminds me of like a Saturday morning cartoon. I really dig the look of the game. I'm fine with the art, and I'm excited to see where this game goes. So why back now? What about the value? What are they offering us currently? We'll dive into that right now, and then we'll talk about the miniature set. So currently, they have a section called Kickstarter Exclusives that are exclusive scenarios that are not going to be included in the retail game. So if you choose to wait for retail, knowing that retail could be between $89 and $79 for a game like this, you are going to be missing out on these exclusive scenarios. And basically what I'm thinking they're going to be doing now, they say 4 scenarios. Yeah, so it looks like they said there are going to be 4 scenarios that they're going to be revealing. I would be surprised if they didn't do 5. I don't know. It feels kind of weird because the first one looks like it's doing Cayman's Revenge. This is obviously a character from one of the Tidal Blades, Cayman. I could be totally wrong here now I'm thinking about it. I do know one of the Tidal Blades, though, is Cayman, right? And so here we have a scenario based on Cayman. So I thought for sure that they would have to do something with all the Tidal Blades. It just seemed, let's find it again, just seemed kind of standard. So the first one became his revenge. The mini will come in the deluxe box. We'll talk about that in a second. And then on the 23rd, which will be the day that this video goes live, we'll have another scenario revealed. So they're going to be revealing these scenarios all the way through. There's a potential. I could see them doing one more if they're doing backstories. If the second one is not a Tidal Blade, then I think we're just going to be locking at the 4. But then we also have the daily reveals. From everything that I've gathered through this campaign, the daily reveals will be included in the retail copy of the game. So this is not added value for backers. This is purely things that they're unlocking to show you growth of the game. But there's no monotail unlocks. The game has basically been designed and completed. Now they're just showing you things to kind of get you excited, to bring you back to the campaign, potentially drive more sales. So the biggest thing that you're going to be looking at is, do you want miniatures? And do these scenarios excite you? And the reason I say miniatures is it might be more difficult at retail to find a miniatures box. In terms of the resale value of the original game, I usually saw people wanting the deluxeified components. So that's something to be aware of as well. They do show some of the standees here to kind of give you an idea of the components. And I think it's interesting. They also show there are legendary Tidal Blades that'll be regarded as NPCs that you're going to be dealing with. They obviously don't reveal all of them, but that is interesting that they're showing that in the components box as it goes. So let's talk about the miniature set. There's going to be 2 different pledge levels that we're going to look at. They've got an upgrade kit, and then they have a miniature kit. Both are completely cosmetic, so they're not going to be gameplay related. They're only going to be adding to the game for the cosmetic reasons that you might want. So in terms of upgrading your game for your aesthetics. So what comes in the box? Well, you're going to be getting your deluxeified resources, changing the components that are, I believe, wooden to these potentially like squishy or something, like kind of what I imagine it's probably going to be something what Everdell did with the berries. And then you're going to have your 5 heroes all miniaturized, your NPCs, we just talked about that just a little earlier, and then all of the different types of enemies and bosses that you're going to be facing. And of course, they're going to keep some of this stuff hidden so that it's not all fully revealed through the campaign, but you get a good idea of how many types of creatures. And I believe they said it's going to be over 70. Yeah, more than 70 miniatures will be included in this miniatures box. Again, not gameplay adding, so they're not going to be hiding anything behind this paywall. It's purely for your cosmetics, but I do believe this will be the most popular one for both the pledge now, I bet if we take a look, as well as aftermarket. When people are going to be digging for this game, they're usually going to want the miniatures, so just take that for note. So let's take a look at the pledge levels, and we can dive in from there. So pledge tiers. $1 pledge manager access. I believe the $1 pledge is probably the safest thing you can do if you're on the fence with this game and you want to see a little bit more of the updates before finalizing your pledge. This is usually great. The only thing I recommend is always check in the FAQ and see if they have any restrictions on that, if there's certain exclusives that might be held off, but currently they're not showing anything of that sort. So $1 should be good to get you into the pledge manager so that you can back later. PDF book is if you want to play the digital role-playing game, so we're going to skip that. Standard game, $89. Tidal Blades, Rise of the Unfolders, which includes those 4 exclusive scenarios. I think if you're looking at getting this game, $89, I think you're going to get a very solid, well-constructed game that could be a good dungeon crawler that's also less grim, dark, and more vibrant and fun. I think $90 is a good price for something like this. You're just going to have to weigh in, are those scenarios that are going to be adding additional roleplay, not roleplay, but replayability to the game, that worth it to you? Again, I can't answer that for you fully. I will know that the base game, it looks like it has 20 scenarios, I think they mentioned through here. Might be a little slower, like lower than what we're normally used to in terms of a lot of our bigger dungeon crawler games. So adding those 4 additional scenarios could help expand the breadth of the game, making it a little bit more valuable. So just want to share that. You have the $109 upgrade kit. So this is basically just giving you the character minis as well as those deluxified fruit and shells that we talked about. So if you just want your heroes minified, but you're okay with all of the NPCs or the enemies being standees, aka Gloomhaven, this might be something you might be looking into. $109, I don't think it's that bad of a price, especially when you compare it to other games, but just make sure you are aware that the Deluxified game is probably where most people are going to be looking, and this is including the full miniature set. The $215 Deluxified plus RPG book, this is also available if you're trying to dig into the game. I highly recommend, if you're curious about the RPG aspect, they have a great tutorial right here with the cipher system. It's about an 8-minute video, gives you a great rundown of the system and how you can implement the cipher system into a wide variety of different types of scenarios and gameplays, which could be great if you're wanting to DM some games and have something that might be a little lighter and easier to manipulate. And they also have this really fun to watch role-play story from Table Story. I was watching episode 1, really enjoyed it. So if you want to get an idea of what the role-playing aspect of this game might incorporate, just watch this 8-minute video and check out this episode 1 to get a good idea. I think it looks like a pretty fun system. Again, if you're interested in this type of aesthetic, that really helps as well. So let's take a look and see what people are backing right now. In terms of the $1, we have almost 800 people backing that. The core game has only 212 people backing it, which is kind of in line with what I was thinking in terms of most people are going to want the Deluxified components. The upgrade kit has 258 backers, so very close to what the core game is. And then the Deluxified backers, this is where most of the people are sitting. 1,150 people are sitting in the Deluxified board game. And then there's going to be some people sitting here in the all-in, which is the Deluxified board game plus RPG, where it's 622. But you can get an idea that the one that's driving the pledge levels right now is the Deluxified board game. So just be aware of that. So I think that's it. We're going to go and head back to my face, make my head all big, and wrap it up. Overall, I think Tidal Blades is a great looking system. I think they have something really unique with the 3x3 grid system in terms of how you're going to play your cards, making sure you're playing things correctly, not blocking different paths. It does create a good little decision-making formula, which I really like. And if you have a good continuous gameplay loop where you're the thing that you do over and over throughout the game, if that looks interesting and fun, like I would want to keep doing this, then we'll obviously have a good solid foundation, and what's going to carry it from there is going to have to be the overall gameplay difficulty in terms of how hard is this going to be? Is this going to be challenging? Is this easy? How well is the story driving me to continue? As well as the upgrade paths. Are the upgrades going to be engaging enough for me to want to continue upgrading my character and see kind of unique different story paths or upgrade paths? So I think from everything I've seen, the core game looks extremely good, and I would be very interested in backing this. The only hesitation I have, and I've talked about this in the previous video, is that I have a lot of dungeon crawling games on the way. This one might be able to slot in easier as more of a lightweight entry dungeon crawler, which I think I can get more people to play. That's some of my heavier stuff. So that's kind of a consideration for me in terms of where does this slot currently in my collection. In terms of resellability, Tidal Blades, Druid City Games have had a very good track record of holding their value and being able to pass directly on. If you do not like this game, or if it's not something that's for you in your collection, you can usually sell it and make it at least back what you put into it. So that's a good coverage if you're unsure about this game. So I'm going to go and wrap this up. If you guys want to support the channel, remember, thumbs up always really, really help. It brings the YouTube algorithm and shows, hey, this is a channel we want to watch. We also have down below, we've got the Patreon link. If you want to support me on Patreon, we're going to be adding new content that very shortly, as well as the Discord link. Join the community, talk about Kickstarters, talk about your fitness, talk about whatever. We've got a whole bunch of Discord channels down there. Check it out. Love to have you guys more. Be part of it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's late. I'm going to let you go. Have a great night. Bye-bye.